Hey, welcome to Inside the Album. It's the podcast where we dive into your favorite classic rock records and talk about all the stories behind the recording of that album, the songwriting, the band, what was going on. This week, we're going to dive into the legendary album by Fleetwood Mac, Rumours. I'm Don Seckler, and that's Tommy Hilkin. How's it going, Tom?
Don, real good. Looking forward to this amazing, amazing album.
Cool.
Really structured tremendously.
Yes, yeah, it's an incredible and such a dominant album back in 1977. If you can, like us, you could check us out on YouTube, subscribe there, or any platform that you listen to audio-wise. We're on Spotify, Apple, Google, every podcast platform out there. So any subscriptions, reviews, all those things help us out. Would really appreciate it. One of my favorite things about doing the podcast is that we get to work with an awesome charity. And Tom, tell us all about musicformark.com.
Well, thanks, Don. As usual, musicformark.com. The reason we're putting this podcast together is to raise awareness for our charity. What we're doing is we're bringing music to the world through kids. You know, Don and I, we love music so much, and it's done so much for our lives that we're supplying the kids with musical lessons, musical instruments, things that they can use to grow and build and keep the music going in the world today. So that's what we're doing, musicformark.com. If you could help us out in any way, we want to bring music to the world through the kids locally in our area right here, right now. And God willing, it grows to where we want it to go. So if you would tell them about our special way you can donate, Don, if you would.
Yeah, if you've got an old musical instrument, anything at all, we would love to take it off your hands, help you clean up your house a little bit and get it into the hands of somebody who will put it to use. A lot of people have guitars and things like that laying around. We'll take pretty much any musical instrument as long as it's in halfway decent shape. So reach out at musicformark.com.
Beautiful. Awesome.
All right. So Fleetwood Mac, legendary rock band. And really because of the album we're going to talk about today, it's an interesting band because they really had, it's really was two different bands. So you had the Fleetwood Mac in the 60s, which was really a blues, heavy blues rock band. And then there was a major shift in the personnel in the late 70s to include Christine McVie, also Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham, and it completely changed the face of the band. They became a lot more poppy, a lot more mainstream rock focused, but it really changed the future of this band because the success of this album, Rumours, enabled this band to do a lot of stuff after that and also produce some other really good records and have a long career. But this album came together and is just so legendary. We're going to dive into it. But let's talk about who's in the band. So you have Lindsey Buckingham, who is the probably, I guess, the lead vocalist. The vocals and the songwriting is really split between the first three people we're going to talk about here. So you have Lindsey Buckingham, guitar player. He did play dobro on one track, did some percussion stuff. Stevie Nicks, also a great songwriter and legendary vocalist. Christine McVie, who was another vocalist and songwriter, keyboards. John McVie was the bass player, and Mick Fleetwood is the drummer. And so he also played a little bit of harpsichord on Gold Dust Woman. So the interesting thing about this band and this band at this time is that everybody's relationship was breaking up. So Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks were dating. They were breaking up. Christine McVie and John McVie were married. They were getting a divorce. Mick Fleetwood was also getting divorced from his wife, who was not in the band. So these people are all going through this huge life change all at the same time while they're producing and writing this album.
Great time for songwriting.
Actually, it turned out to be. And, you know, some of these songs... Yeah, some of these
songs come from pain.
Yeah, they're very painful and they're very kind of they're really spiteful and like we're going to get into the details because it's so interesting. But there's two songs on this album where one song was written about one relationship and the other person in that relationship heard the song and wrote another song to kind of counteract it. So there's all this crazy stuff going on.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's It's an amazing, and we always talk about friction producing great results in rock music, and this is you can't have more friction than people's personal relationships being like in mayhem.
Hey, what do you think of this lyric?
Yeah, right. And that's the interesting thing is people who are in the band have said that even though we kind of hated each other, we still were able to work together musically.
Yeah.
To produce a great album. So
interesting.
Yeah, very, very interesting. Recording started in 1976. So, and then the album was released in February, at the beginning of February 4th of 1977. At the time, the charts had an interesting mix of music. This is really kind of the height of kind of soft rock, I guess you would call it. It was very like a lot of middle of the road kind of rock and roll stuff was very popular. So you had Songs in the Key of Life by Stevie Wonder. No, I wouldn't put that in this category. But then you also had Hotel California by the Eagles, pretty, middle of the road kind of Southern California feel. The Boston record, the first one, which we talked about last week or two weeks ago. Again, a little bit more rocky, but still pretty middle of the road. ELO. Yeah, ELO was out with New World Record, which again was kind of, a soft rock record. And then you had Night Moves by Bob Seger. So, Bob Seger, I guess, kind of like Bruce Springsteen is to the East Coast, Bob Seger is to the Midwest. But that was, his huge hit album.
Oh, dude. Night Moves. We'll have to cover Night Moves. Tremendous album.
Great record.
Tremendous album. I love that.
So Rumours was an instant commercial success. It sold over 10 million copies within a month of its release.
Wow.
That's insane. It sold, it ended up selling over 40 million copies worldwide, making it one of the all-time best-selling albums.
Yeah.
Went to number 1 in 7 countries. It also received diamond certification. So the certifications for records go gold, platinum, diamond. And the numbers are different depending on the country because obviously in America, it's a big country. You're going to sell a lot more records than you are in England. But it received that diamond certification in multiple countries, including the UK, Canada, and Australia. And in the US, it was certified platinum 20 times. So 20 million copies just in the US alone.
Wow. Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah. And this is right up there. So I guess probably the best-selling album, I think, is still Thriller of all time, but this is right up there with those all-time great records.
Yeah. Well, Thriller, everybody listened to Thriller. It's kind of an interesting type of album, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Rock and roll, no matter what, it was just a great album. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and it was a good pop dance record, right?
Yeah. Well, for some.
For some. So the band, like we said before, there's kind of this two faces of Fleetwood Mac. There's the old blues-based one, and then there's this more poppy, Southern California, laid-back, kind of, groove rock type of thing. And they had the first album with Nixon Buckingham was recorded in 1975, and that was just called Fleetwood Mac. And they had some early success with that. A couple of the songs were popular. But when that album, right between that album and this album, all these relationships started breaking up. So everybody's breaking up. So the other thing that happened here is that it's 1976 and there's a lot of drugs. A lot of people are using coke and speed and other things on a very, very regular basis. So the recording sessions for Rumours were totally marked by, a lot of substance abuse. And it was just a whole crazy mid-70s scene going on there.
Sex and drugs and rock and roll.
Pretty much. Yeah. So,
I wanted to share with you what I found interesting about this album. You ever, we talk about albums a lot, and a lot of times, like, for instance, I'll throw it out to you. The meaning behind what I want to say is like, many people think Bohemian Rhapsody was, A Night at the Opera was Queen's first album, because it had such an impact that nobody had heard of Queen, but they had 3 albums before that.
Right.
And the interesting part about Rumours, many people think that this is the band where they started with Rumours. I just realized I was looking in, because I used to listen to Jeremy Spencer and Peter Green. That's the original blues band.
Right.
They had 11 albums before this. 11.
Yeah, they weren't, it wasn't like one or two. So they've been
Right.
playing for, like 10, 15 years, right? I mean, it was like the 60s, mid 60s when they started.
And that original Fleetwood Mac, as they call them now, the original Fleetwood Mac, was a killer band as well. It's an interesting thing.
Yeah.
So,
And you should definitely, if you get a chance, listen to some of those older records, especially if you're into the blues stuff. They're really, really good.
I'm going to share something with you that you'll love because you're this kind of guy. Judas Priest covered one of their songs, "The Green Mahavishnu," was done by Fleetwood Mac, the original Fleetwood Mac.
And Judas Priest covered it. That's crazy.
Oh yeah. There's my little blues goes into rock and roll. Like I said, Don, it's all rock and roll, baby.
True.
It's rock and roll.
True.
All right.
All right. So here's the cover, and it's Stevie Nicks is dressed in her Rhiannon stage persona. So she's into this whole mystical fairies and, hippie type of thing. And it's Mick Fleetwood and Stevie Nicks in this kind of old timey, classical Renaissance fair look almost, right? But pretty iconic. And the on the backside, there's just some group photos of the people in there. You see them; they look a little bit more like the 70s than the 1800s or whatever they were going for here on the cover. All right, so the album was the band had the idea, and it really was kind of driven by Lindsey Buckingham. So as he got into the band, he kind of saw an opening because Mick Fleetwood and John McVie were not really the songwriters, so Lindsey saw an opportunity to come in and kind of take control a little bit. It was still Mick Fleetwood's band,
right?
But he was driving the songwriting a little bit more, and so they had the idea to try and get into making more of a pop album. And so it kind of becomes this mixture of pop and soft rock and this Southern California vibe that was happening back in that 1976 to 77. The first Fleetwood Mac with this iteration of the band record, they went out and did 6 months of touring. Then the McVies divorced, ending 8 years of marriage. They stopped talking to each other socially and only discussed musical stuff. Then Buckingham and Nicks, who had joined the band right before the 75 album, they were having on and off relationship that led them to fighting a lot. And so the arguments only stopped again when they were working on songs together. Mick Fleetwood had his own domestic problems after discovering that his wife, Jenny, the mother of his 2 children, had an affair with his best friend.
There you go.
That's bad.
Yeah. And drummers don't write songs, so it's
generally not. No, sometimes they do. Very rarely.
Yeah, I got you.
So, there's mayhem here in all these people's lives, and they kind of focused all that energy into producing this amazing, amazing record. Wow. So they started recording in 1976 in February, and they recorded at the record plant in Sausalito, California, which is right near San Francisco. They set up in this studio. It was a small wooden building with small recording rooms, no windows. And most of the band members complained about the studio and wanted to record at their homes, but Mick Fleetwood wanted to keep everybody together.
Yeah.
So they end up recording almost all of the album right in that studio. The original working title of the album was "Yesterday's Gone." And that's from one of the songs, which we'll talk about in a little bit.
Yep.
John McVie is the one who actually came up with the album title, and he felt that the members were writing journals and diaries about each other as they're going through all these horrible relationship things. So that's where it became Rumours. And, since he and Mick Fleetwood are British, it's the Rumours with the U.
Yes.
So, you've got Americans and Brits in the same band. So you get a mix, a little bit of culture mix here as well. Like I said before, Lindsey Buckingham kind of took charge of the studio sessions to make a pop album. So Mick Fleetwood and McVie, they came from this improvisational. They improvised a lot in their blues rock background. But, Lindsay really had a good handle on the craft of making a record. So these guys are kind of jam guys. And then Lindsay comes in and is super focused on, producing this record. And a lot of times it's, that there's a big difference between just jamming and then being focused and getting these songs together and making sure they're recorded properly and all the parts fit and everything.
I like what you said, there's an art to making a record.
Yeah. Oh,
right.
Definitely. Right.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. The production value, how it flows. Yep.
And even the songwriting and the song structures. So when you're a jammer, you just jam and you're not thinking about, you're thinking about, okay, what am I doing right now? And what am I going to do next? You're not thinking about what you did already. When you're putting a song together, all of that has to kind of fit together.
Yeah. Well, the jam bands, this sounds good. Let's do it. I get it. Yeah. That's what makes music what it is. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, definitely. When they were starting at the very beginning of the songwriting, Lindsey Buckingham and Christine McVie, they often played guitar and piano together to create the album's basic structures for all the songs. So Christine was also classically trained. So, but she and Lindsay both had the same similar sense of musicality. So that worked out really well. She's a really good songwriter. And I don't know if a lot of people know that, but she wrote 4 of the songs on this album.
Yeah. Yeah. She's, I always considered her. And if you see her, she's a major talent and a great singer.
Amazing voice, right?
Yeah.
Love her voice.
I really do. Me too.
So they really were not like socializing or meeting. So they outside of their work at the studio. So the hippie movement was still affecting Sausalito's culture. There was a lot of drugs available. There's open-ended budgets available to the band and the engineers. And so people just tended to get overindulgent, cocaine. When you have money, you always, if you're into cocaine and you have money, it's going to cocaine.
Even if you don't.
Yeah. So it ends up happening that they're using a lot of coke and a lot of sleepless nights. And one of the guy who owned one of the guys who owned the record plant, this guy Chris Stone, indicated that Fleetwood Mac bought excess at its most excessive. They took over the studio for long, extremely expensive sessions. The band would come in at 7 at night, have a big feast, party till 1 or 2 in the morning. And then when they were so whacked out that they couldn't do anything, they'd start recording.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's an interesting way to go about it.
And a lot of the recording was done individually because people were so messed up.
Wow.
So there was a lot of overdubs on this album. It wasn't like they got in the room and recorded everything all together. It was put together piece by piece.
Wow.
It's interesting. Stevie Nicks said that Fleetwood Mac created the best music when they were in the worst shape.
Yeah, I guess you could. You can't judge it. Could you say, would it have been better if they were sober? It would have been better. You don't know.
Who knows?
It just is. It just is. Yeah.
Right. So there was also a little bit of clashing too between John McVie and Lindsey Buckingham about the makeup of songs, but they both admit in hindsight that it definitely led to really good outcomes. So even though, again, we talk about that tension, that stress.
Yeah.
It does sometimes really help produce great music.
Yeah. Well, when you think about Mick Fleetwood and John McVie, they came from a whole nother world, man. This was a new world to them, pop music and, playing melodic kind of stuff. They were blues guys, straight through to the heart. Blues guys.
Yeah. So, all right. So let's dive into the first track here. Nice. This one is Secondhand News. So that's super, super poppy right there, right?
Bow, bow.
Yeah, right. It's so good, though. It's such a great song. This song was written by Lindsey Buckingham. And for people who don't know or haven't kind of watched or seen videos of Fleetwood Mac, Lindsey Buckingham plays a finger picking style of guitar. So he's not strumming a guitar like you'll see, you know, like the Ramones or the Clash or whoever. Nope. He's bing, ding, 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 ding. So it's a little kind of country, but he has an interesting rhythm to his playing that I always enjoyed.
That guy can play anything.
Yeah. He's an amazing musician.
Truly underrated because his name doesn't come up when you talk about lead guitarists.
Well, you know, he's not a traditional, you know, like soloist. He's a great solo player, but he's not like, you know, it's not like Eddie Van Halen or Clapton, those types of guitarists.
Boy, is he good.
But again, his goal here was to not. He didn't want to be a guitar god. He was trying to write a pop record, you know? Yeah. So the song was originally an acoustic demo called Strummer, but then Buckingham heard the Bee Gees jive talking and he rearranged it with more audio tracks and the rhythmic effect from playing a fake leather seat in the studio chair.
Wow.
So he said it ended up giving the song a slightly Celtic feel. Or Celtic, nice. Celtic, I don't know.
Somebody giving credit to the Bee Gees. Look at that.
Yeah, there you go. And you know, the Bee Gees actually, it's interesting. So the Bee Gees too, you have the Saturday Night Fever Bee Gees, but the Bee Gees also had a whole nother life before that, you know, with not disco songs, not really rock, but kind of middle of the road type of stuff, but I love the old Bee Gees stuff.
I'll say it here. Bee Gees were the best of the best.
They're a good
this
band.
Is coming from a rock and roll guy. The Bee Gees were the best of the best.
Yeah.
Should love the Bee Gees.
This song, even though it's kind of upbeat and happy, it's got a great beat. You're singing along to it. It's a very dark lyrics.
Yeah. I'm just secondhand news.
Yeah. It's asking you to move on, leave me alone. You know, it's the shatter of all these relationships happening. And he's just like, that's in the past. We're going to move on. I'm secondhand news, you know? So Stevie Nicks has said that they're all trying to break up. And when you break up with someone, you don't want to see him. You especially don't want to eat breakfast with them next morning, see him all day and all night and all day and the day after. So these people who are breaking up these, you know, long-term relations. This isn't like somebody I dated for a week. Even Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham, they were together for years.
Yeah. And
now I'm trying to break up with them and I'm with them 24/7.
Yeah, this is before Facebook.
Yeah, this is actual real FaceTime, right?
Real FaceTime where you don't want to be doing FaceTime. I get it. Yeah, it's a tough time.
So Stevie Nicks also said that the recording sessions lasted 13 months and it took every bit of inner strength that we had. It was hard on us, like being a hostage in Iran. And to an extent, Lindsey was the Ayatollah.
That's great. I've heard that. But dude, 13 months to make an album. Wow. That's a long time.
So he really, I mean, you know, so he's a guy, and, you know, we talked about this before with we talked with Clapton, like Lindsey Buckingham, I think, is a guy who knows what he wants. Yeah. And he's going to make it happen no matter what. And, you know, so that can be stressful on a relationship with a band or with a woman, you know, when one person is so, you know, in control of everything.
Well, when you think about it, it's relationships. It could be marital, it could be business, you know, relationships. You know, what do you bring to the game and driving people crazy? But we've used this word before when we were talking about people in bands, ornery, right? We were like, he's an ornery guy. He's like one of them, you know, the fine line between, you know, insanity and genius. He's one of those guys.
Yeah. Yeah. So super focused and, you know, but again, amazing song.
No doubt.
All right. So let's take a listen to track number 2. This one is Dreams. I love the bass on this. It's got that 70s, if you feel like you're in a 70s like velvet lounge, right?
Little Boz Skaggs.
Yeah, right. That's good. So good.
what you love. Oh, thunder only happens when it's raining. Players only love you when they're playing. Say when they will come and they will go. When the rain washes you clean, you know.
So this is a Stevie Nicks song, and she actually wrote this while laying on Sly Stallone's bed. So she was in the studio, and Sly Stallone was next door recording. And in his studio, he had this big semicircular bed and red velvet all over the walls. So she said it was a great vibe for a song about romantic entanglements.
Yeah, what the hell was he recording?
I don't know.
I want to hear that album. My next song, Cut the Eye, Mick.
So the line in this song, "Players only love you when they're playing," was directed at Lindsey Buckingham. Obviously, I mean, I think everybody probably gets that. Stevie Nicks was super pissed off when Lindsey brought in "Go Your Own Way" to the session. So this song is a direct response to that one.
That's
so
great.
Stevie said that it was definitely a reaction to it, but it was also two people telling the story of the same relationship from each of their perspectives.
I love it.
Right? So that's so cool.
You know what I love most about this song, man? And I mean it, the old school drumming.
Yeah.
It's so on spot.
It's right in the pocket. You don't even notice it.
You don't even know he's there.
Yeah.
He's driving the whole song.
Yeah.
And the greatest part about it is I always think, I love the old, because, I'm a Charlie Watts fan, just because of what he's done his whole life with this little drum set that he got for Christmas one year.
With 3 drums.
It's my favorite. But this reminded me of, I love that just sitting back, keeping the beat. I love it.
Yeah, and that's these guys as a rhythm section are insanely good, but that comes from being a jam band, really, because you play so much and you got to keep it together, because when you're in a jam band, the guitars and keyboards and everything's all over the place, right? But the bass and drums have to be there, solid, keeping the song together. Because otherwise everything is just mayhem, So you got people underestimate the value of a really good bass line.
I was just going to say, not enough credits given, but if you ever watch a live performance, whoever's playing lead guitar or the singer will turn and look at the drummer to bring the song down, bring it to an end.
Right.
They turn around and look. I loved everything about that since I was a kid.
Yeah.
So that's what I love about that song. The drumming's fantastic.
So Stevie Nicks said that she remembers the night she wrote Dreams. She walked in and handed a cassette of the song to Lindsey, and it was a rough take. It was just her singing solo and playing piano. And even though he was mad with me at the time, Lindsey played it, looked up at me, and smiled. So she said what was going on between us personally, what was sad. We were couples and we couldn't make it through. But as musicians, they still respected each other and they got some brilliant songs out of it. I wholeheartedly agree.
No, it's fantastic. I love everything about that.
Yeah. Christine McVie said about this song that when Stevie first played it for her on the piano, it was just kind of 3 chords and 1 note on the left hand. And she thought, wow, this is okay, but it's a little bit boring. But then Lindsey came in and fashioned the 3 sections out of identical chords, making each section sound completely different. And he created the impression that there's this thread running through the whole song. So again, we've got, brilliant musicians, and one writes a song, the other one makes it better.
Yeah.
And, that's why you join a band, and don't do everything solo, because you can always get an improvement from, another talented musician.
And this album was like the perfect wave, where they always say luck and all that. But this album, everything came together. That's what happened.
Yeah, for sure. It was totally kismet, as they say. All right, so let's dive into track number 3. This one is Never Going Back Again. Here's that picking, right?
Oh.
She broke down and let me in. Made me see where I've been. Been down one time, been down 2 times. Never going back again.
So this song, again, there's that guitar picking that we talked about. You can really hear it here because it's so isolated. It's the whole focus of the song. It's a Lindsey Buckingham song, obviously. Jen, it's always, so whoever sings, they're the songwriter on these for the most part. But Lindsey had written this song. He had a brief relationship with a woman who he met on the road after he had broken up with Stevie Nicks, and it's about that. And so again, it's kind of a dig at Stevie Nicks, never going back again, So while these songs are so pretty, they're also kind of mean, right?
Yeah. Mean-spirited. Yeah.
A little bit. But most of the album was recorded at the record plant, as we talked about. This song was actually recorded at Studio City Sound Recording Studios in Los Angeles. And according to one of the guys who was engineering there, said that this was kind of Lindsey's pet project with just the 2 guitar tracks, but he did it over and over again. And then in the end, his vocal didn't quite match up with the guitar tracks, so they had to slow them down a little. So again, there's a lot of kind of manipulation of these songs in the recording, which, some bands do a little bit more of that than others. So again, it's not a real live recording experience. There's a lot of overdubs and things like that and slowing things down. But in the end, it becomes a great track. So you got to be happy with the result.
Yeah, you know what? This album, when in 1977, my Jay Giles band, Ted Nugent days, this album had to grow on me. It's not one that I had in the collection. I can tell you that.
Well, and it's see, I was super young. I was super young at the time, so I was a little kid. But at the time, it wasn't. It was very middle of the road.
Yeah. But
it had enough rock to it that you kind of digged it.
Well, listen, super airplay. NEW killed this album. Yep.
Oh yeah, totally. And we talk about records that dominated the airways. This was definitely one of them.
Oh my gosh! But you know what? You think about it, still to this day.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this album is still played everywhere.
Sure. All right, so let's jump into track number 4. This is a little bit more popular one. This is "Don't Stop." And this is a Christine McVie song.
Hear a little more piano.
Yeah. So this song, like I said, is a Christine McVie song. She's the lead singer on this and wrote it, and it's heavily keyboard driven. It's almost got a little bit of a very slow boogie woogie feel to it, right, on the piano.
Yeah, that's what I put down. A little bluesy, a little boogie woogie.
Yeah, yeah. So she,
yeah.
And it fits so good with the rhythm section. Lindsay does a great job with the guitar supporting there. Just the whole song is perfect.
Yeah, huge song. Huge.
Yeah, and hugely popular, hugely popular song. And Christine wrote this song about leaving the past behind. It was because of the breakup of her and John McVie, as we've said. She said it caused some some awkward moments because John had to play a song written about him.
Yeah, sure. Crazy.
But then the weird thing about it was that I read an interview with John McVie that was like in the 2000s, and he said he didn't even know it was about him.
He's just playing music.
Yeah. He said, I never put that together. I've been playing it for years, and it wasn't until somebody told me Chris wrote that about you. And he goes, oh, really?
Bass players don't hear the lyrics.
No. So, and that Yesterday's Gone, that line was or the original title for the album before they changed it. So that was where that came from.
Great song. Unfortunately, this takes me back to Bill Clinton used this song over and over and over during his presidential run.
Yeah. So it kind of got a little rebirth, and it's definitely the boomer anthem, I would say, right? So all our contemporaries love this.
There you go. Our contemporaries. You're still a kid.
Not much.
Yeah.
All right, let's dive into track number 5. Again, another legendary song here. This one is Go Your Own Way.
Nice riff.
Loving you isn't the right thing to do. And how can I ever change things that I feel? If I could, maybe I'd give you my world. How can I, when you won't take it from me? You can go your own way. Go your own way. You can call it another lonely day. You can go your own way. Go your own way. Tell me why everything turned around. Jacking up, so you wanna do. If I could, baby, I'd give you my world. Open up, everything's waiting for you. You can go your own.
So it's really, I just love the, so everything in this song is kind of sparse, right? Like, so the drums are there, but it's not like overwhelming. The
Nope.
guitar, there's 2 guitars. The one's kind of playing the rhythm in the background. The other one's kind of here and there, poking in. And like when you said Charlie Watts, this song especially has kind of a Stonesy feel to it in a weird way. Not, it doesn't sound like the Rolling Stones at all.
No.
But it's the way the instruments kind of play with each other, and there's open spaces, and it's so crazy valuable when you have that the in betweens, in between the songs or the music.
When you think about it, right, with the foundation, and I love talking about it because it's my world. It's what I listen for. It's that the foundation will always go back to the blues. That's Charlie Watts. That's Mick Fleetwood. That's these guys from England. Listen, their influence, what they got to listen to and learn from, right? That's their foundation. And you want to think about it. Where do you go back to when you're doing something? Is you always go back to what your foundation. But it's perfect. It just fits perfectly.
Even the shaker. So you hear the shaker in the background, and it drives the song. It makes it, even though it's not going faster, it feels like it's going faster. It's so good. So again, another mean song.
Yeah.
So this is
well,
the song.
You know what? I was just going to say to you, a lot of heavy feelings. I don't know if this one's mean. I think this is one where he's actually crying his heart out.
Yeah, but he says, he says packing up, shacking up is all you want to do.
Wow.
And he's better off without her, and she can go her own way. It's like,
Yeah, but he's also
pretty much
saying, I've
fuck
got
you.
everything for you, and you don't want to take it from me.
Yeah.
It's a good mix of I love you, I hate you, die.
Yeah, right. So, but for the record, though, Stevie insists that she never shacked up with anyone when they were dating. And she actually wanted Lindsay to take that line out, but he totally refused to do it.
Yeah. So the velvet couch had nothing to do with this song.
No. And Stevie Nicks actually said, back in 2009, in an interview, she said that it was certainly a message within a song, and it was not a very nice one at that.
That wasn't nice.
No.
I like it. Yeah, but what a great song. And we're leaving out because we don't get to it. And you got to listen to these albums. Like I said, you want to listen to them musically. That's what I enjoy. Right. When you sit back and listen to the whole album. But Lindsey Buckingham tears it up at the end of this song.
Yeah. There's a great solo on there. Yeah, and
one of
that's
my favorite solos of all time. It's in my top 10 because I have no idea what's in the top 10, but it's in my top 10.
But it's the thing about that solo is it's also not very complicated. It's almost like a Neil Young solo where he plays one note for 30 seconds,
But
yeah,
it fits perfectly, that solo. It takes the song out. It wraps up the song perfectly.
Yeah. The genius about this album is the songwriting and the construction of these songs. It's so good.
Yeah.
The other thing about this, so when you get to the verse, and it's often lost in the song, but because there's all that bitterness, and then the refrain, when you get into the chorus, it's very kind of adventurous, or it's kind of uplifting. If you don't know, if you're not thinking of the meaning of the song. So it's a kind of a weird mix of this kind of, I'm angry, but hey, I'm super into it, and crowds love the song, and they, stomp their feet and everything.
I'm playing in pain.
Yeah. So Stevie Nicks said that Dreams and Go Your Own Way are what she calls the twin songs. And like I said before, this is what they're the same song written by two people about the same relationship. Even though they're completely different songs, they're talking about the same exact thing.
From their perspective.
Yeah. All right. So let's jump into track number 6. This one is another Christine McVie song. And this one is Songbird.
For you, there'll be no more crying. For you, the sun will be shining, and I feel that when I'm with you, it's alright. I know it's right. To you, I'll give the world. To you, I'll never be cold. 'Cause I feel that when I'm with you, it's alright. I know it's right.
So this song, gorgeous, just amazing.
Yeah.
Here's where you highlight Christine's amazing songwriting, and her voice is just spectacular.
Spectacular. I love it.
And so this one they recorded actually in a auditorium concert hall, Zellerbach Auditorium in Berkeley, across the San Francisco Bay from Sausalito,
Okay.
just because they wanted to get that concert hall ambience. And if you have this song on, and especially on the vinyl version, and you have it cranked up, you can really hear that sound is so different than what they're getting in the studio.
Great acoustics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's just the piano, a little bit of guitar in the background that you could just barely hear. But just a beautiful, beautiful song.
You know what I found interesting is that, as a band, if you write the song, it's pronounced. It's you. It's right. You know what I mean? You got to give them credit for that, that she stands out on this song, and she could have made it into the band and threw it to the band. But it's funny how they all take their different roles. And the Lindsey Buckingham songs start out with guitar. Her
Right.
songs start out with piano. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. And, you have a band with 3 great songwriters. So
Yeah.
that's most bands, usually have 1 or 2. On rare occasions, you get a band like I know with Pearl Jam, all 5 guys write. So it's a mix, but it's unusual to get more. Usually it's 2 guys, it's Richards and Jagger. It's
Yep.
Lennon, McCartney, whatever.
Yeah.
But when you get the multiple songwriters, then you get a lot different. You always end up getting a lot different sounds. I think the songs stop
Sure.
kind of sounding the same,
And it also gets a wee bit complicated when you have 5 songwriters.
It does. And there was
Yeah.
a battle, which we'll talk about over the last song on this album. There was a song that Stevie Nicks wanted to use instead of Gold Dust Woman as the track, but the band overruled her with her own song.
Uh-huh.
So-
All right.
All
Great
right.
song, though.
Yeah, just love it.
Yeah,
All right.
beautiful
So
voice.
here's track number 7. This is another really, really well-known song. This is The Chain.
Mm.
Listen to the wind blow, watch the sun rise. Run in the shadows, damn your love, damn your life. And if you don't love me now, you will never love me again. I can still hear you saying you would never break the chain. If you don't love me now, you will never love me again. I can still hear you saying you would never break the chain.
All right. So we're going to listen to the part at the end here where it ramps up in just a second. I just want to make a couple of points. So this song is a Stevie Nicks song, lyrics written about Lindsey Buckingham. I mean, every song is about their relationships.
Yeah.
And so, but this is the song, even though Stevie wrote it about Lindsey Buckingham, they're both sharing lead vocals on the song. So they're singing it
Amazing.
together. So it's like they're going through all this kind of pain and personal torture. And then they're almost making it worse by forcing themselves to work together on these things. So
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
it's crazy. So part of the song, this song kind of began as Christine McVie's song called Butter Cookie. And you could get that in the expanded edition of Rumours. The beginning of the track wasn't working, but the band loved the Mick Fleetwood and John McVie ending, which they use, which is where the drums kick in and the bass comes in and everything. And so, there's a lot of kind of mixing and matching here in terms of the song parts. But let's take a quick listen to that the ramp up part, which is super cool.
Sure is.
Or not. Here we go. See that? The Lindsey Buckingham part? It's
yeah.
a couple of notes.
Yeah.
But it works, right?
Oh my God, yeah.
So the whole drum and bass part there that kind of ramps us up and really kind of ratchets up the tempo of this song and really kind of kicks it into being a great song was actually something that John McVie wrote and was planning to use on a different song. So all these kind of parts came together for this song, and it's the only song I think it's the only Fleetwood Mac song that has a credit for all 5 band members for songwriting.
It's so funny. As we go through these songs, I write things down to throw out to you. And I wrote down, this is something John McVie had in his back pocket and was always wondering when he was going to get to use it. That bass line.
Right. It's such a great, it's one of those building parts and really kind of gets everybody ramped up and really
and he
comes
was like,
together.
Hallelujah. I got a bass line I can Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. It was like, he played this since he was a kid and wanted to get it somewhere in a song.
Exactly. And that's that, we every week we talk about that, where guys had something that's laying around for 15 years and they bring it in and it becomes a legendary song.
I want to share this real quick because I watched it recently, an interview with Joe Walsh.
Oh, nice.
He used to tune up sitting in his room playing really fast, as fast as he could, knowing he wouldn't have to play that fast on stage.
Right.
And what he was actually playing was the chords for Life in the Fast Lane before he even knew it was Life in the Fast Lane.
Nice. Yeah.
It's just something he practiced with.
Yeah, it happens all the time, right?
Unbelievable. Yeah, it's great stuff.
All right, let's take a listen to track number 8. This is another really popular one. This is You Make Loving Fun.
Or do you? Got a little disco beat to it.
Yeah, so it's very 70s, this song. So Christine McVie's song, obviously, she's singing here, and it's about her new relationship. So again, it's another song about their relationships. And so she started dating the band's lighting technician, this guy named Curry Grant, and she wrote the song about him, basically. And it's funny, Mick Fleetwood said, knowing John, he probably thought it was about one of her dogs.
This is great. I'd like to know a little bit more about John McVie, right?
He obviously has no clue about anything.
Yeah, right. This is great. I love the lighting guy. What? Huh? What?
So
that's great. The word lighting guy should be in there, though.
Yeah, right. You make it bright.
You brighten my life. No, literally, you brighten my life.
You light up my life.
That's great.
So
The song is so 70s. It just,
Yeah,
when you
it
said
is.
that earlier, this. If you look up the word 70s, this song comes up.
it's that synthesizer, that
Oh.
that bouncy synthesizer
Get it.
sound, right?
Like
That-
if it was on American Bandstand, they would say, "Well, I like the lyrics, and you can dance to it." You remember American Bandstand before your time?
no, I remember that. Sure,
All right, just check.
my mom told me about it.
There you go.
So Christine McVie had nothing prepared when they started recording. So was worried. She's like, I thought I was drying up. I wasn't able to write. I was practically panicking. Every time I sat down at a piano, nothing came out. Then one day in Sausalito, she sat down and wrote in the studio. And she wrote 4.5 songs on that one day.
Wow.
So
Yeah, I can
just
I can
pours out
see
of her.
that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I can, all kidding aside, it's just a simple thing of writing and blogging in our world. But sometimes you just got to stop,
Take a
and then
break.
start again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. Start fresh, right?
Yeah, writer's block happens, and it's just pretty much you're not in the mood. You're not in the zone. And you got to step into that zone.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
Or write songs like the Ramones. The
Yeah.
choice is yours.
Right. It's a good warm up. Well, like we've talked about with the Clash, sometimes, if they go ahead and jam on old songs,
Yeah.
it gets you back into, playing and writing, and sometimes that'll unclog the drain, so to speak,
Yeah, get the creative juices flowing.
as they say.
Well, who's they? I have no idea. Whoever came up with that. My creative juices are flowing. Well, get away from me.
All right, so let's take a listen to track number 9. This is I Don't Want to Know, and this is a Stevie Nicks song.
Good song.
I don't wanna know the reasons why I love you. Right on walking on down the line. I don't wanna stand between you and love, honey. I just want you to feel fine. I don't wanna know the reasons why I love you. Right on walking on down the line. I don't wanna stand between you and love, honey. I just want you to feel fine. Finally, baby, truth has come down now. Take a listen to your spirit. It's crying out loud. Trying to believe. Oh, you say you love me, but you don't know. You got me rocking and reeling.
So I love these songs where Stevie and Lindsay both are singing lead. I love their voices together. It sounds really great.
Yeah, they play off each other well.
Yeah. So Stevie Nicks wrote this one back in 1974, before she was even in Fleetwood Mac, and she was going to use it on the second album with the Buckingham Nicks Band, which is where, the band they had before they joined Fleetwood Mac. And she didn't want it on this record. She wanted to use the song Silver Springs instead, which some people may have heard. It's relatively well known. So she was really didn't like this song and liked Silver Springs a lot better. But they ended up using this one on the record. All right, so let's take a listen to track number 10. This is Oh Daddy.
Oh, Daddy, you know you make me cry. How can you love me? I don't understand why. Oh, Daddy, if I can make you see, if there's been a fool around, it's got to be me. Yes, it's got to be me. Oh, Daddy, you
Again, another Christine McVie song. Super, super straightforward and simple, but again, just gorgeous, right?
Well, yeah, her voice carry. She she could sing about Cracker Jacks, and you'd be
Yeah.
like, "Well, that sounds great." Yeah, she's got. I always thought, anytime I watched her sing, I just fell in love with her. I thought she was fantastic.
Yeah,
I really
yeah,
did.
amazing.
Yeah,
And you know, you have so this is a band with two amazing female voices, very
Yeah.
different voices,
different.
but both gorgeous in their own way.
Oh, absolutely.
And this one was written about Christine wrote it about Mick Fleetwood, and she said that it was because he was just keeping the band together. So that's
Yeah.
why he's kind of called Daddy, because everybody's like, you know, off, you know, like the band is like exploding and he's kind of keeping everybody back together. And he was the calming influence in the whole, in the group.
You know, he always seemed like a real good guy.
Yeah.
He was definitely a lighthearted guy compared to everybody else.
Yeah. Still to this day, you know,
Yeah.
he's just so awesome. Always been a huge, huge fan of Mick's.
Yeah, me too.
All right, so the album closer is this one is Stevie Nicks, and it is called Gold Dust Woman.
Mm.
They like these fade-ins too.
Rock on, gold dust woman. Take your silver spoon, dig your grave. Heartless challenge, pick your path and I'll pray. Wake up in the morning, see your sunrise, clouds go down. Thousand lovers pick their prey, but they never cry out loud. Cry out. Or did she make you cry, make you break down, shatter your illusions of love? And is it over now? Do you know how? Pick up the pieces and go home.
Mm.
So I think a very powerful song. I always like this one.
Me too. Me too.
Mick Fleetwood said that it took Stevie Nicks 8 takes to get the vocal right, which is not a ton. But he said they were recorded originally early in the morning, and she was kind of hunched over a chair, and she was alternately choosing from her supply of tissues, a Vicks inhaler, a box of lozenges for her sore throat, and a bottle of mineral water. So sounds like somebody's using a lot of cocaine.
Could be. Could be.
And the song, I think, is about that. It's Gold Dust Woman, take your silver spoon, dig your grave. So, you know, she's never said it was a cocaine song, but it sure sounds like one.
You know, I was thinking about her, and it's, you know, she sings in character, you know, like, you know,
Yes.
you think about stepping into that gypsy, the witch, you know, she sings in character. And that's one of the things that I got from this song. Like it's not just her going up and being Stevie Nicks. I think she transcends into being somebody completely different when she's singing. Pretty interesting look at it.
Yeah, yeah. And, you know, and she's had an amazing solo career. She did that one song with Tom Petty. She actually, I think at one point she was almost in the Heartbreakers or something.
Stop dragging my heart around. It's a
Yeah.
great song.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Very
great
great.
voice. I always love Stevie Nicks, still do to this day.
So I'll give you a Stevie Nicks story. The Edge of 17, her
Yeah.
solo song.
Sure.
You know where that came from?
Yeah.
This is great. I heard her talking about it, and she was with Tom Petty and his wife, and she said, "Well, how long you guys been together?" And Tom Petty's wife responded, "Since the age of 17." And it
Oh.
sounded like she said the age of 17.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, Tom
That's
Petty
so
was
funny.
with his wife since they were 17.
Wow, that's
So
crazy.
she responded since the age of 17,
Huh.
but with the southern.
Yeah,
age of
right,
17.
right. Right,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, she
My
was
little
probably from
tidbit for the
Florida,
show,
yeah.
ladies and gentlemen. There it is.
All right, so that's Rumors. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks
was
for
great.
listening. Thanks for watching. Check us out on YouTube or InsideTheAlbum.com, wherever you get podcasts. Don't forget, like, subscribe, review, 5-star reviews, please.
Please, only. Unless you're pointing them at Don.
So we'll be back next week,
All
and we're gonna do a record that you were talking about. We're gonna do Night at the Opera by Queen. So that's gonna be super, super fun.
Very, very fun. Awesome
All right.
stuff. I look forward to it, Don.
Yeah,
Good
thanks
job today,
everybody.
man.
We'll see you next week.
Thank you.